Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
Demonic threat level increasing.
Hold the line!
All the power of hell cowering before one man.
id Software presents Doom, The Dark Ages. Available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Rated M for mature.
Lights, camera, innovation. Walt Disney Studios chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to transform the movie-making process. Together, we kept a remote production hub in Hawaii and sync with a team in California to bring Lilo and Stitch to theaters this summer. This is picture-perfect collaboration. This is Walt Disney Studios with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie,
and we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird. Welcome back, weirdos.
Welcome back to yet again another history or another episode of History for Weirdos.
Another history podcast story time beginnings.
Yes, and as you can tell, we are in a different location thanks to our friends at Spotify in downtown Los Angeles.
Look at how cool this background is, everyone. It's kind of like the setup we have at home with the bookshelves, but way more elevated and nice.
I know, like our home version of this is just like the ghetto version.
Yeah. Ours is a little
janky.
Ours is a little more ratchet, but it's still a similar vibe.
Yeah, exactly. We got the books. You got some like microphone stuff up here. That's
also,
awesome.
weirdos, warning in advance, we do have caffeine.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun episode.
It's about to get weird.
It's about to get real weird here.
Yeah. Oh, and before we jump into Andrew's episode this week, which I'm so excited for, this is going to be such a cozy story time. Yeah. We are about to leave to Italy.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because by the time that you're listening or watching this episode, we will have history content of Italy on our Instagram. So if you're not following, what are you doing? Go ahead and follow us.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram at History for Weirdos. We're going to have so many like pictures, videos. We are spending 2 days in Rome.
A day in Pompeii.
And
then a week in the Amalfi.
You know, a week in the Amalfi.
Yes. I really want to go to the spot where Tiberius threw people off the cliff.
In Capri. Okay. It's a big climb.
Yeah, well, we're doing it.
Okay.
Or I'm doing it without you.
Okay.
Okay, maybe that's what we're going to do.
And we're not just going to the Amalfi for a week because we're bougie.
Yeah, no.
Because as you all know, we're not bougie.
I wish we were that bougie.
But it's because we're celebrating Andrew's brother's getting married. His little brother.
My little brother Kyle is getting married to his lovely fiance Jordan, and I'm really, really excited for them.
They are such a good match.
Yeah.
So we're very happy for them. We're really excited that they wanted to celebrate their love in the Amalfi Coast. We're like, if we must.
I know. I was like, when they told us that the first time, I was like, "Are you guys serious? Like, this is like our dream wedding. like, what is this?"
Yeah. So we're really excited, and we can't wait to tell you all about the trip and hopefully some cool, weird history that we learn while we're there when we get back.
I know. I always feel like every time I do more research into just like ancient Rome in particular, I always learn more. Mm-hmm. And it'll be really interesting to learn some of like the local history of the Amalfi, because I don't know a ton. I know some, especially in regards to Capri, but
I'd imagine that it would be for your world that you love so much, like the Roman Empire and the emperors, that would have been such a vacation spot.
Yeah,
especially in the summer.
Exactly. And even during like the Republican era, like it would have been like, you know, probably rich senators or even just like equestrians.
Yeah. And that's going to be us.
It's going to be us.
Oh. So we're so excited about that. And then I have one more thing, babe.
Okay,
One
you
more
go.
thing. The last time we recorded, I forgot to mention this. I did have a recommendation for a TV show.
Ooh.
That nobody asked for. But I want to share my thoughts and opinions. That's why we have a podcast.
Yeah.
I just want to randomly share my thoughts and opinions.
I wonder if we should have like a not in our normal series of shows or of the show, but like in like almost like a little like, I don't know, like auxiliary show. We should have just recommendations.
Oh, maybe. But for now, you're just going to have to sit and listen to me on the main show. I forgot to mention to the weirdos that we watched 100 Años de Soledad, or 100 Years of Solitude, on Netflix.
It was really good.
It was really good. Andrew, you had like no kind of like expectations going into it.
Mm-mm.
I had expectations and they were surpassed. What did you think as someone who's like not familiar with?
Oh, we binged it. And that was partly because of me, because I was really invested in the story.
Yeah.
They portrayed magical realism in such a unique way I had never seen on television before.
Never.
It was beautiful.
They really brought Latin American magical realism to life.
And also like kind of like the political undertones are so relevant to today, even though the circumstances were vastly different. Yeah.
Yes. It's the same themes that we're dealing with today.
Just come over and over again. It's like humans were so inventive and yet so unoriginal at the same time.
Yeah. So it's a great show. I believe the production company is a Colombian one, even though it's a Netflix show. And all the actors are Colombian. I recommend listening or watching with it in Spanish and then having English subtitles.
And that's what we did.
Yeah. Because I just think there's such a interesting quality when you hear their actual voices versus a dubbed version.
Exactly. And plus I'm trying to still learn Spanish better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a baseline understanding, but it's not great.
Well, weirdos, si quieren aprender español, my recommendation is actually, which Andrew never takes me up on, is actually you listen in Spanish and you have the subtitles in Spanish. And then you're going to start to connect the sounds with the written word. That's how I recommend learning.
We should probably do that.
You are only saying that because the weirdos are listening.
I plead the fifth.
But I think we did do that with Las Azules.
We did, yeah.
I made you.
And I understood it.
Mm-hmm. It's a good way to learn.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my recommendation. Because it's historical.
It's historical.
Sorry, that's why it's relevant.
Yeah, 19th century, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really cool. You get to learn so much about like Colombian history and culture, even though it's a fictionalized town. It's still based off like real attitudes and lifestyles of the time.
Yeah.
So it's very cool. And now that we have that done, no more announcements, right?
No.
Perry says hi.
I feel like there is actually something that I wanted to say. Oh, yes, there is. So, sources. So, someone brought up, like, hey, like, what sources do you use? And I realized we haven't been putting them in our show notes. And I do apologize about that. So, starting with our last episode, Nellie Bly, we did have the sources are present in the show notes. And moving forward,
they'll always be there.
Yeah. So, whoever you are that wrote us, like, hey, like, what sources do you use? I appreciate you because when we came back, that was just something I completely forgot to start putting in the show notes.
Our ADHD thanks you.
Yeah.
We forgot, but it is important. And we love a lot of the sources that we use are like great. So we will have them in the show notes. And we're going to try to be more proactive about making sure that like links to things that we reference, stuff like that are in the show notes as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to improve on our show notes just for you guys.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, love. Tell us, what story do you have for us this week?
Okay, well...
Let me get cozy.
Yeah, get cozy. Mm-hmm. If you're listening or watching at home, get cozy as well, because it's story time. So, when asked if he could see anything when peering into an ancient Egyptian tomb, Howard Carter exclaimed, "Yes, wonderful things."
Ooh.
What he saw would make shockwaves around the world. On November 26th, 1922, Carter and his team would make the most exciting ancient Egyptian archaeological discovery arguably of all time. The tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun had been found, but history remembers him as King Tut.
Woo! Yay! Cheering sounds.
But would this discovery come at a price?
Of course. There's always a price.
And Steph, I have to ask you, are curses real?
Absolutely. I'm Irish Mexican Catholic. Yes, magic is real. Curses are real.
Well, we'll find out in this episode.
Yes, we will. We will.
So, who was Tutankhamun? Who was King Tut?
Yeah, tell me.
So, before we can even get into this monumental discovery that happened that shaped like 20th century Egyptology and even archaeology, we have to talk about the pharaoh, the man, or rather the boy.
Oh.
Yes. Because, yes, he essentially never really reaches adulthood, sadly being around 18 or 19 years old when he died.
That's such a baby.
It is. Like, as someone who was 18 or 19 at one point, I can tell you, I thought I was an adult. Now that I'm 33, I was like, no, dude, you were a child.
Yeah.
I mean, still, part of me is like, you're still a child.
I agree. You are. No, we both are, especially. Yeah. I remember learning a little bit about King Tut as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdos might know this reference. You might know this reference, although you were less of a book nerd. There was this awesome book.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
The Egyptology book?
Oh, yeah. Every little kid knew that book.
Oh, my God. I had the Egyptology one. I also had one about dragons and where you could find them.
Where can you find dragons?
You'd have to read the book. But I remember learning about King Tut and hearing like 18 or 19 or whatever and thinking, oh, well, he was an adult.
Yeah.
That's wild. Like, no, he was not.
Like, I'm older than Alexander the Great ever was, which is also really weird to think about.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
And I've had my existential crisis just like Julius Caesar did.
That you are not as great as Alexander?
Yeah, like I'm not as successful as that. And also, unlike Caesar, I haven't conquered France yet either.
Wow. I'm so embarrassed for you.
Okay. So back to our boy Tut.
Mm-hmm.
And literally.
Our boy Tut.
He was possibly, though we aren't certain, the son of Pharaoh Akhenaten and was born circa like 1341 BC. And if Akhenaten sounds familiar, it should, because we covered him in episode 139, the heretic pharaoh, in case you're interested.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was another one of your amazing episodes.
Yeah, and actually it's funny because I feel like that episode on Akhenaten is a little bit like a prequel for this episode because a lot of what Akhenaten did affects King Tut.
Yes, I'd imagine so. So, weirdos, if you haven't listened to Akhenaten, do so.
Absolutely. It's episode 139. So, and just really quickly, just to recap Akhenaten's reign, he was about that monotheistic / quasi-monotheistic vibe. We did cover that in the episode.
Hence the title Heretic King.
Exactly. Essentially, Akhenaten wanted to get rid of the traditional Egyptian pantheon, that entire paradigm, which you can imagine the priestly class in Egypt was not super stoked on.
Mm-hmm. Or the, peasant class, would that be appropriate?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, the peasant class would be like, are you kidding me? The gods rule everything. They make sure that we have food and that the Tiber, that the it's because we're going to Rome, that the Nile doesn't flood.
Yes.
You know, that would be so outlandish.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. You're spot on. The peasant class also didn't like this. So he was very... In some ways he was popular, in some ways he wasn't. You have to listen to that episode. We're not here to talk about Akhenaten. But it's funny because I could talk about that for a while. So, and also just kind of furthering this recap, Akhenaten basically moved the capital to Amarna during his reign and, as part of his new kind of thought process. And that whole thing is called the Amarna Revolution.
Oh, okay.
And again, this was the ultimate goal of this was the worship of the supreme deity Aten, which is like a sun disk.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. I mean, it does sound kind of cool. I'm not going to lie.
Is it kind of like a Sol Invictus vibe?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, King Tut's mother could have been Nefertiti, who's also a big name, but we're not sure about that.
Whoa, we don't know?
So it's really interesting. We know through DNA analysis, we found the mummy who is King Tut's mom, but we don't know who that is.
Wow.
We also know his father's body, the mummy, has also been found.
Okay.
And we think that's Akhenaten. We're not sure, though.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So all that they've confirmed is that this is father, mother, child.
Yes, and that the child is indeed
King Tut.
Tutankhamun.
Okay.
Yeah, King Tut.
Well, if his mom was Nefertiti, damn.
I know, right?
She was so beautiful.
She was very beautiful.
The fact that we still talk about her beauty today is crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know much about his early life, except that around 8 or 9 years old, he ascended to be king.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. An 8 or 9-year-old king?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So during the first part of this reign, he actually had his court in Amarna.
Okay.
Right? The new
Which would
city.
make sense, yeah.
That would make sense, right? And I should also mention that his birth name was actually Tutankhamun, in honor, of course, to the Aten.
Aten, that makes sense.
Yes. And that meant the living image of Aten.
It really sounds like his dad is Akhenaten.
That's what I would think, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Like he's
I believe.
inheriting all of these things that Akhenaten pioneered.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 2 rulers immediately after Akhenaten and before King Tut, but they both died very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it is possible that if he wasn't the son of Akhenaten, he would be at least a very close family member.
Yeah.
But
maybe a nephew or a grandson.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that he is the son of Akhenaten.
Yeah, that's my guess too.
Yeah, the mother is more dubious.
Mm-hmm.
That one's a little bit... Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There's a few options.
Yeah.
So he was the living image of Aten, but this, of course, would change really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So fairly shortly after taking power, maybe within like the first couple of years, I don't know exactly when, he would change his name to Tutankhamun, which is how we know him today, meaning the living image of Amun. So in an absolute reversal of what Akhenaten did.
Going back to the Egyptian pantheon.
Exactly, with Amun as like the kind of not like a supreme deity, but more of like kind of like a Zeus-like figure, like king of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm oversimplifying like crazy, but just to give you like a kind of a general framework.
And Egyptians did believe that whoever was Pharaoh, whoever was ruler, was the literal living, almost like avatar of the god.
Yeah, in a way, and with King Tut actually, he's kind of special, and I'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really weird.
I just wanted to share that it's not symbolic.
Exactly. And with him, we'll get into it. It's
okay.
very literal. It's very literal. So, but all of this thing, you would say it's probably like a slap in the face to dear old daddy, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. To pull like an Uno reverse
Basically,
on your legacy?
Yeah, an Uno reverse. I love that.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
5 immersive worlds, 1 amazing theme park. Get ready to explore the all-new Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, Super Nintendo World, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe. Epic Universe, now open at Universal Orlando Resort. Our universe will never be the same. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
Saturday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength, Saturday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Saturday. Saturday, bring it on.
So obviously when you were that young and you were the head of a nation state, you're going to need some help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would need help.
I mean, if I was president of the United States today, I wouldn't know what I would be doing.
Gosh.
I mean, I'd still be better than what we have now. But
Absolutely. I think 8 or 9-year-old
Tutankhamun would be better. That's true. So his vizier or head advisor was an older man by the name of just A-Y.
That's kind of gangsta.
And I was assisted by Horemheb, Egypt's head of the armies at the time. And funny enough, both of these men would end up becoming pharaoh in later years.
Interesting.
And it was in these first few years of Tut's reign that Akhenaten's decree to worship Aten in favor of the traditional polytheistic beliefs was officially reversed.
Okay.
And shortly even after that, Tut's royal court moved back to Thebes with the intention of restoring the old order and basically begging the old gods to look favorably upon Egypt. That was what he was doing.
Yeah. I wonder if it was like people were still so unhappy and maybe there were some difficulties in like weather or natural disasters enough that it was like, oh, maybe like not even as a political move, but like maybe if we go back, things will get better.
No, absolutely.
Like a true belief.
No, absolutely. In the Bronze Age, and across cultures too, this isn't even with Egyptians, but across a lot of cultures, they believe that the gods truly believe that they were real.
Yeah, and that they were like playing around with our everyday lives.
Exactly. And it's interesting you mentioned kind of macro factors because that was at play here. Economically, Egypt had been declining for a while.
Yeah, that'll do it.
People really, and you talked about the peasant class especially, absolutely they wanted to go back to the regular pantheon.
They must have believed it's because we're worshiping this one Aten whatever guy.
Yeah.
Who the heck is he?
Amun, Osiris, all of them, they're pissed.
Yeah, they're mad. They're punishing us.
Exactly. And in fact, speaking to that, Tut ordered the repair of holy sites and continued construction at the Temple of Karnak, as well as other projects associated with the Egyptian pantheon.
It's a good move.
Yeah. And this actually had the unintended yet positive side effect of King Tut actually being revered as a god during this lifetime.
Nice.
That's what you brought up earlier. Mm-hmm. And you see, though, this was actually rare. So usually pharaohs were venerated after their deaths through mortuary cults and associated temples as deities. Again, this was only reserved for the deceased, but our boy Tut received this in his lifetime.
Wow. And
yes.
as a child.
Mm-hmm. So temples of his cult were even built as far away as Nubia.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
that's impressive.
It was he was it seems like this wasn't just this wasn't fake. This was actually real.
People really believed this young boy is a living god.
Yes.
Because he's fixing everything. He's bringing us back to the gods.
Exactly.
He had good advisors.
Yeah, he did have good advisors, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, interestingly, he even had a little experience improving international relations, too, during his time, as he reestablished diplomatic relations with the Mitanni people of northern Syria.
Wow. And
they were a powerful kingdom at this point in time.
I definitely wasn't doing that when I was in elementary school.
No, me neither.
I was watching Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
Very similar, though.
You know what he was also doing?
What?
Possibly leading armies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's funny because when I grew up, I didn't know King Tut was actually active during his reign, but he definitely was.
Yeah.
He did a lot as such a young person in such a short amount of time.
That is such a strategic move on his advisors. I think it really would have been smart to not just have him be sort of a figurehead or a puppet, but to put him in these active roles really would help reinstill faith in the pharaoh, the position of pharaoh.
Ooh, that's so true.
And since his advisors both become pharaoh, it really benefited them ultimately.
Exactly. The original stance of his army's fighting, by the way, was that he did not participate in these.
Right.
But as more research kind of comes to light, that doubt is actually decreasing. And more modern archaeologists and Egyptologists are actually thinking that Tut did participate in these
That's so risky.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow, but that's badass.
It is badass, yeah.
I wonder if the kid was a good fighter then.
I think he was. We get into like some of his health here, and we'll get into it in a second. But I definitely believe that he was brought up learning how to fight, or at least be a military man.
Wow. We should definitely teach our kid. We don't have a kid. Perry. How to fight.
How to use a
growing up.
Khopesh sword.
Yeah.
How to use a spear.
Mínimo.
Khopesh swords, those are like those kind of curved swords that you see in ancient Egypt.
Yeah,
I talk about them all the time, yeah. Because they're so cool.
They are really, really cool looking. And our child would have to learn how to do archery on horseback.
Oh my God, just like the Mongols or the Huns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or the Parthians.
This kid's got some high expectations.
Yeah. Or what's the even older one? Whatever.
Oh, before the Parthians?
Yeah, the one that they taught. They were like the steppe people that the Greeks interacted with, and Scythians.
The Scythians,
Yeah.
yes. And we think that the Scythians are what created the myth of the Amazon women.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Pretty cool, huh?
So cool.
I know. I love ancient history. It's insane.
It really is.
It's insane.
It's stranger than fiction sometimes.
So, we've already talked about King Tut quite a bit. Well, quite a bit.
We've got an overview of
We've got
his
an
life.
overview, right? Sadly, though, you already know what's going to happen, guys. And we're getting to that part.
He's going to go live on a farm?
He's going to go live on a farm. So, it is most likely that Tutankhamun, King Tut, died of a gangrene infection at either 18 or 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a rough way to go.
It is. A 2010 study found that he not only had malaria, but was disabled with a broken lower leg, requiring a cane to walk. And on top of that, he had congenital defects associated with inbreeding. And unfortunately, this was common in the Egyptian royal family.
Which we talked about a little bit in my Potbelly episode.
I know, which is crazy because that takes place over 1,000 years later.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the pharaohs in between like King Tut's era and the Ptolemies, maybe because of stuff like this, they were not known for incest and inbreeding.
Exactly.
Very interesting, kind of like bookends.
Yeah,
the tradition.
It just goes to show like how long ancient Egypt lasted. It was insane. I mean, Egyptology is the study of ancient Egypt, and that started this Egyptology, to be clear, started in the Bronze Age.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Wow. So if you are an Egyptologist, you are part of a very old tradition.
Over 3,000 years old.
Wow.
I know.
Okay, let's go back to school and let's be Egyptologists.
I kind of want to now.
Let's do it.
I know. And then I'll do an episode on something in the classics. And I'll be like, oh no, I want a classics degree.
That's true.
I just want it all, baby.
History ADHD.
Yeah. And then something Mesopotamia. I'm like, no, I'm an Assyriologist.
Wow.
So he could have gotten this lower broken leg from a chariot accident, but there isn't any evidence of that actually happening, funny enough.
So could it have been in battle maybe?
Possibly. There isn't any like documentation. There isn't any sort of even hieroglyphs stating that, what
happened.
Exactly. Like how he broke his leg. It's basically just like best guess from Egyptologists. You gotta love ancient history.
Yeah.
There was an earlier theory that he was actually assassinated by a blow to the back of the head, but that has been more or less debunked. And it's funny because when I learned about King Tut when I was a kid, that's what I remember.
Yeah, me too.
And that's not the case.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And that comes from a 1968 X-ray that showed 2 bone fragments inside the skull.
Oh, okay.
But more modern research has shown that was most likely the result of the modern like unwrapping of the mummy.
Oh, so postmortem.
It was a
postmortem
Yeah.
injury. Okay.
Exactly.
Do you think they got bones to figure that out?
It's possible. Like some sort of like cultural anthropologist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Forensic anthropologist.
Or forensic, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think that's such a cool job.
That would be a really cool job, right? Damn.
If only we had time to do all these jobs.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't live in like a capitalistic hellscape.
Yeah. That'd be so interesting.
Anyways.
Oh, well.
Right? So regardless of the circumstances of his death, it must have been sudden because the tomb was unusually small considering his status, right, as a pharaoh.
That's also a living deity. Yeah.
Yes. And I think there was at the time like a 70-day period where the pharaoh had to be buried within 70 days.
Okay. So they didn't have a lot of time to make the tomb, probably.
Exactly. So it was probably something that had been created for like maybe like a noble, and they're like, nope, this is ours now. Mm-hmm. We even know that the tomb was robbed at least twice in antiquity, but it was probably within a couple months at most of his burial.
Tomb robbers.
Luckily, though, there were restoration efforts to clean up after the fact, again, in antiquity, right?
Okay. Wow.
Giving further proof that it must have been very quickly after his death.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, it wasn't vandalized.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like small things that were stolen. So after this initial time period, the entrance to the tomb was lost, thankfully. Because it had come to be buried by debris from subsequent tombs that were built in the Valley of the Kings, and workers' houses were literally built on top of the entrance.
I mean, those houses are haunted.
Oh yeah, well they're gone now.
Well, yeah, but when people were living in them, they heard some spooky stuff.
Return the slab.
Not Courage the Cowardly Dog.
That's History for Weirdos for you, baby.
That's History for Weirdos.
So, it would remain undisturbed for over 3,000 years.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
The world changed over and over and over again in that time.
Exactly.
And it remained untouched. Wow.
So, we're going to fast forward those 3,000 plus years.
That's a good idea.
And arrive at the turn of the 20th century.
Yay!
A little bit past it, I guess. So, in 1907, our archaeologist from the beginning of this episode, Howard Carter, met Lord Carnarvon.
Lord Carnarvon.
Yes. Lord Carnarvon was an English aristocrat and peer by the name of George Edward Stanhope Molyneux Herbert.
I'm not going to remember that.
Yeah. Just call him Carney.
Carney?
You know, I'm going to call him Carney from now on. So... he inherited the imposing and magnificent Highclere Castle. And yes, Stephanie, that castle is the setting for Downton Abbey.
What?
Yes.
Oh, I want to inherit that castle.
Frickin' Carney.
Frickin' Carney. Give it to me.
He was an enthusiast for Egyptology, and he employed Carter's expertise and provided the necessary financial backing to search for Tutankhamun's tomb.
That's what I would do.
Right? All these billionaires, stop doing these vainglorious projects. Actually, like, fun stuff. Be cool.
Be cool.
You're like the worst billionaires in the history of humanity.
They don't build jack shit.
They don't do anything except for just, like hyping up their own ego. It's pathetic.
Thank God for Melinda Gates.
I know, right? You have, like, at least one.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if all of the history you could preserve, all of the art that you could be a patron of.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It makes zero sense. Why not just make the world a better place? Like, how are you so insufferable?
So insufferable.
Yeah.
The wealthy class used to build theaters and libraries and bathhouses.
Yeah, like throughout history for thousands of years, and now they go to space.
For themselves. Or they go in a submarine and die.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys. Do better.
Yeah, be like infinitely better.
Yes. Okay, so this rich guy who owns the Downton Abbey house, he's funding the archaeology.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what's kind of funny?
What?
So I've heard that Elon Musk listens to history podcasts, so I really hope he heard that.
Yeah, I would have a lot to say, sir.
Like, Elon Musk, if you're listening to this, dude, be so much better. Be like how you were like 15 years ago.
We have notes. If you want, you can reach out to us. historyforweirdos@gmail.com. We have suggestions for you, Elon Musk.
Yeah. If someone knows him, tell him. So, I totally lost my place. It's so funny. Okay, so Carter, right? He's getting funded by Carney.
Mm-hmm.
So Carter spent, like, basically starting in 1907 to 1914, 7-year period searching for the tomb, but to no avail.
That's okay. I would spend my whole life searching.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. That's not the end of it. I mean, he had to stop in 1914 because a little something called World War I happened.
Yeah.
They called it the Great War.
Big bummer.
It's a huge bummer.
Mm-hmm.
A bigger bummer is only a couple decades away, guys. Don't worry.
They had no idea.
They had no idea. I felt so like...
I know.
Can you imagine like in 1919 being like, oh, thank God, the war to end all wars is over. Like, I will never have to deal with that again. And in your lifetime, there'll be something even worse.
Yeah, that'd be really depressing.
That only ends because of nuclear weapons.
Humans are so cool.
Lovely.
Yeah.
But don't worry, guys. Starting in 1917, he was back at it.
Oh, good.
So year after year, Carter and his team shifted the limestone rubble down to bedrock in the Valley of the Kings. And he didn't have a lot to work off of. Like, he had some like vague inscriptions of where this could be, but he wasn't entirely certain. So it was just like it was a brute force effort.
A little bit of a needle in a haystack situation.
Literally, yeah. Well, not
Yeah.
literally, but figuratively, yes. Crazy. So after years of not finding anything, Carney is becoming doubtful
Yeah.
that Carter will ever find anything.
Yeah, of course.
And he actually threatens in 1922 that he's going to pull funding at the end of the year. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of get it. It has been a long time.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's understandable. Carter was becoming quite anxious because time was literally running out for him, right?
Oh.
But luck was on his side. Fortuna. He had cleared so much rubble by this point that only the area below the tomb of Ramses VI remained.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
This episode is brought to you by Principles. Ray Dalio, legendary investor and New York Times best-selling author, wants to pass along his understanding of how countries go broke, because he believes the U.S. budget and debt situation needs to be addressed. To give you that knowledge, he has put the draft of his book, How Countries Go Broke, The Big Cycle, online for free. It's available now at economicprinciples.org.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Business. How can you free up your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business empowers leaders to not only streamline purchasing, but better support their teams so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more about the technology, insights, and support available at amazonbusiness.com.
So finally, on November 4th, 1922, one of Carter's workmen quite literally stumbled upon something. What looked like a rock was actually a step into the bedrock.
Also, shout out to my little brother, because his birthday's November 4th.
Yeah, and Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to both you guys. So they cleared the dirt, debris, and rubble, and sure enough, there was a descending staircase down to a sealed doorway.
Oh my God, their hearts must have been racing.
Oh, I would have been screaming.
The desperation, like, oh my God, get in.
Yes. The team opened this entrance, and then guess what they found?
What?
A hallway with another sealed door.
Oh my God, so exciting.
So, and that sealed door, the second one, oh, by the way, Carter had also called Carney back from England to be like, yo, get your butt over here. I think we found it.
Like, oh, so he could be there.
So he could be there, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he's funding the thing, so he's...
So he wants the glory moment.
Yeah, smart move on Howard Carter's part, honestly.
Yeah.
So Carter, he made a small hole in the blocking and inserted a candle to illuminate the room, like, beyond, because they couldn't, like, get past the door yet. And so they just wanted to see, like, what was inside.
Is it worth the effort?
Yeah. And this would end up being the defining moment of his entire career.
Ooh, wow.
The small space had furniture, boxes, and even dismantled chariots, all piled in kind of like a disarray fashion. Gilded animal heads gleamed really eerily in the flickering light. And the tomb like had for sure been disturbed, right, in ancient times.
Right.
But luckily for us all, it was not vandalized or stripped of really any contents.
Oh, thank goodness.
There were 4 chambers within the tomb. The room that Carter was looking at with his candle was just the first room known as the antechamber.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also like an annex, a small room, a treasury, but most importantly, the burial chamber.
Wow, this is a very humble tomb, by the way.
Very humble, very humble. It was just like 4 like smallish rooms.
Uh-huh.
And I think you can actually today go to the original burial chamber and see King Tut. He's there.
What?
Which is interesting because I remember seeing his mummy here in the United States, or I think it was King Tut.
Really?
Yeah.
Where?
I mean, I was a child at
Oh,
the
you
time.
don't remember.
Yeah, this would have been back in like maybe like 20 years ago.
Oh, that's so interesting. I really want to go see it.
Me too.
In person.
Oh, I know. Egypt, I feel like we'd have to spend weeks there. There's too much to see.
Get ready for us, Egypt. We're moving in.
We really are. So it wasn't until months later, though, on February 16th, 1923, that Carter entered the burial chamber. And it's really cool because in the burial chamber, for the sarcophagus, it's actually really, really, it's complex. There's a lot of layers to it, but inside there is this one, I don't know how to even describe it, but there's a really intricate rope knot.
Okay.
Lashing. I don't know how you even describe it, but it had been tied for over 3,000 years. The rope was still there.
No one had untied it.
Yeah, and it'll be on our Instagram, a picture of that rope.
That's so cool.
But it was so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, sealing his sarcophagus or the little mini room within a room to get to his actual body.
Okay.
So I mean, that's some good rope. Also, being that it's so dry in Egypt, that probably helped.
Yeah.
No moisture leads to no rotting.
Yes. Yes.
And this was a really startling discovery because it was the best, they'd stumbled upon the best preserved Egyptian tombs ever discovered up until this point in time.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because, sure, there had been other tombs before, but had long since raided.
Oh, yeah. Probably over and over and over again.
Over and over again, starting thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So this was by far the best preserved.
So it being lost in the first place ended up being a historical blessing in disguise.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it makes sense. You would want your tomb to be almost lost if you were a pharaoh because at that point, then especially when you're a new kingdom pharaoh. The old kingdom pharaohs, they build those giant pyramids. So they're like, I'm here. You can find me.
You know where I am.
But the new kingdom ones were in the Valley of the Kings and they're hidden underground.
Wow.
You wouldn't want to find them.
Mm-hmm.
Or they wouldn't want you to find them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Carter's a little bit different. I think they would understand.
Yeah, they'd be like, okay.
It's not like they're stealing it. It's it's almost in a way revering.
Yes. I think there's a lot of reverence to
absolutely.
it. King Tut's probably like, yes, make me famous again.
Yeah.
Make me relevant.
Famous. So Carter and his team spent more than 2 months removing and cataloging the more than 600 items in the antechamber alone.
Dang.
Yeah.
I wish I could be there.
So,
but they wouldn't want me cataloging things.
No.
They'd be like, Stephanie, did you catalog that one thing? I'd be like, what one thing? Where?
You have to be super organized.
Yeah. So much ADHD medication.
I know. Oh my God. Every single day. So the burial chamber was really cool because it contained a large golden shrine that filled almost the entire space. And it's that shrine that I was talking about that had that rope lashing on it.
Very cool.
And inside it, all nestled within one another, were 3 other shrines, a stone sarcophagus, 3 golden coffins, and finally the mummy of Tutankhamun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was it's almost what are those things that they're
the Russian nesting dolls.
There we go.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Oh my God, that's exactly what it is. But sarcophagi.
Yes. And next to the burial chamber, there was a room that he called the treasury, which was filled with a smaller shrine containing Tut's organs that had been removed during the mummification process that we all, learned about when we were little kids. I feel like
they take them out through the nose. That's
yes,
crazy.
Like, ew. And it's really cool because that room was guarded by a statue of Anubis.
That makes sense.
And, he was the god of mummification and the dead. And it's really cool because the way he's sitting, Anubis, he's a dog.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly how Pericles sits.
Oh.
Kind of like a sphinx,
That's so sweet.
It's really cool seeing it.
This morning, not to be like gross, but we were snuggling with Perry when we woke up. And Perry was sitting and you said to him like, oh, you're sitting like...
Anubis.
No, but you didn't say. You didn't want to spoil it for me.
Oh, that's right. I stopped myself.
Yeah, but you said you're going to find out in the episode today.
Yeah.
He definitely, even like hit Perry's shape.
Yes.
And like his profile, he looks like he'd be an ancient dog.
He does.
Yeah, he looks a little
pretty
wild.
Looking.
Yes.
Yeah. A non-dog, canid looking dog.
Should we? Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Should we have a family tomb? And should it be guarded by Perry statues? Pericles. What do you think, weirdos?
I think that's a great idea.
Right? Would our tomb be a pyramid?
Oh my god, like the one in Rome?
Yes, or, I'm such an LA girl. I was thinking like the one at Hollywood Forever.
Oh my god, that's right. There is that tomb.
Yes.
Or I was going to say also like that Bass Pro Shop in like Knoxville.
Or like a Bass Pro Shop. That could be our tomb.
Do you know that's one of the biggest pyramids in the world? Like top 10?
USA, baby. Okay, or our tomb could be marked. It could be underground.
Okay.
But it's marked by an obelisk.
Oh, that's cool.
That's pretty classy.
As like your younger brother would say, that's hard.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He would say that.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, what?
Like,
and then when you enter the tomb...
Yeah.
Like outside the entrance, you're underground already.
Yeah.
It's all marble, okay? You enter.
I don't think we're going to get this much money from the History for Weirdos podcast.
Definitely not from the podcast. Like, not even close. But
we do this for the love of the game, baby.
We do this for the love of the game, for sure. No. Why'd you interrupt? Oh, so it's all marble.
Yeah.
And then there's a giant statue of Pericles, sitting like Anubis. And you have to pass Pericles before you get to our sarcophagi.
Oh, okay.
What do you think?
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. Done.
Done. Done.
It's on record. Our wishes for our final resting places.
And speaking of resting places, the last room, what he called the annex, Carter, had 2,000 items in it alone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. There were so many artifacts actually in his tomb that it took the Egyptian Museum in Cairo over a decade to catalog everything.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
The site of the discovery, as you can imagine, was soon flooded by the press and important officials from all over. I think there was even like a Belgian princess or something there. Super random.
I mean, I would use my princess status to go see that.
Absolutely. Me too. Like, it was just a maelstrom of people all there to witness this crowning achievement in Egyptology and archaeology.
That's so cool.
So, remember, though, what I said at the beginning of this episode regarding a curse?
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's dive into it. So shortly after opening the tomb, Lord Carnarvon, Carney, he was bitten by a mosquito and later slashed the bite accidentally while shaving.
Oh my gosh.
It's not a big deal, right? It's just like, you cut yourself shaving. Oh, it's this thing, whatever. Well, the bite became infected. He went into sepsis and he died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and also around this time, Cairo experienced a major blackout. And there was also a huge sandstorm that came out of nowhere.
And Egyptians are like, wait a second.
Hey, yo, what's up?
What did we disturb?
Exactly. And coincidentally, about 2 weeks before his death, Marie Corelli wrote an imaginative letter that was published in New York World magazine, in which she quoted an obscure book that confidently asserted that, quote, dire punishment, end quote, would follow any intrusion into a sealed tomb.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. And this was taken really seriously, even by some world leaders. In fact, Benito Mussolini.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he had been gifted a mummy, and afterwards, he ordered its immediate removal from his palazzo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was like, I'm not even messing with that, homies.
Yeah.
Like, no way.
Yeah. I think I would do the same.
Yeah,
just
just
the one
in case,
time
right?
Mussolini and I overlap, I guess. Hopefully.
He loved ancient history.
Oh my God. No. Please don't tell me more.
Yeah, no. I think he did it with nefarious purposes in mind.
Yes, exactly.
And he didn't love it all. He only liked the parts that supported what he wanted, not everything.
That's not history.
It's not history, man. It's history is about going for the light. That includes everything, the good and the bad and the ugly.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Good and Bad and the Ugly, one of my favorite Western movies of all time, by the way. So, funny enough, or not funny enough, a media frenzy followed, like a really intense media frenzy followed this, with reports that a curse had been found in the King Tut's tomb, though this was not true.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the wall, like it said, there was a curse.
Oh.
Yeah, that was not true.
Okay.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, and a noted spiritualist, suggested that Lord Carnarvon's death had been caused by elementals that had been created by Tutankhamun's priests to guard the royal tomb.
He's using science to explain this to us, guys.
Science.
Elementals.
Yeah. So deaths in succeeding years of various members of Carter's team and real or supposed visitors to the site kept the story of the curse alive.
Yeah.
Alleged victims of the curse included Prince Ali Kamal Fehmi Bey of Egypt.
Oh, snap. How did he die? Do we know?
He was shot by his wife in 1923.
I feel like he probably did that one to himself.
Yeah, that one's on him. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, who supposedly x-rayed the mummy and then died mysteriously in 1924. Sir Lee Stack, the Governor General of the Sudan, who was assassinated in Cairo in 1924. Arthur Mace of Carter's excavation team is said to have died of arsenic poisoning in 1928. Carter's secretary, Richard Bethel, supposedly died smothered in his bed in 1929.
Oh my gosh.
And then also his father, who committed suicide in 1930.
Wow. A lot of these are violent.
A lot of violent deaths, yeah.
Also, a lot of these people were murdered.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Carter himself thought this whole idea was, quote, Tommy rot. I don't know what that means. So if you know what it means, weirdos, let us know.
Do you think Tommy knows?
No. But you know, he did die of Hodgkin's disease alone in his flat, like I think in 1939.
Pobrecito.
So
that's natural causes.
Yeah. And also, I have to say, there was also a lot of people that did live just a normal life, you know, and didn't die under any weird circumstances.
Yeah.
But of course, though, like every time that someone would die, the media would pick up that there was a curse.
Be like, King Tut's curse continues.
Yes. You know, I will say, though, very recent research has come to light that kind of gives the curse a little bit of legs to stand on, but not in the way that you're thinking.
Ooh.
Not in a supernatural way. And I would be remiss if I did not share it.
Tell us.
So, and this is very recent. This is March of 2024, so just last year. An article in the Journal of Scientific Exploration detailed that toxic levels of radiation emanating from uranium and poisonous waste are believed to have lingered inside the tomb since it was sealed over 3,000 years ago.
Wow.
But this wasn't isolated to just King Tut's tomb.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
Dangerous levels of radiation had also been found in sites adjacent to Giza, as well as other sites like Saqqara.
That's really interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, so it's safe to say that the ancient Egyptians actually had nuclear weapons.
But no, someone's going to take that soundbite and be like, History for Weirdos, a sham.
I am joking, to be very clear, guys.
Do you know how radiation would build up in a tomb?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. But these modern studies have shown that these tombs have really high levels of radiation, and about some of them up to 10 times the accepted safety standards.
Okay, that's really weird.
It's really weird.
Could it be elementals maybe that they're picking up on?
I mean, yeah, maybe it's like a curse. It's just something that they didn't really quite understand, right? But it's now that with science, it's like, oh, this is actually coming to light.
Oh.
Like maybe there is a curse in a way.
And for
but
our archaeologists who died of Hodgkin's type
right.
of lymphoma, it's cancer.
Exactly. A lot of them had like these bloodborne cancers.
Yeah.
So you're like,
radiation
interesting.
exposure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, again, that's not a curse per se, but in a way,
kind of
scientific curse.
Yeah.
In another tomb, and they were aware of this because in another tomb that's not King Tut's, to be clear, this is not King Tut's tomb, but another tomb, there was an inscription that read, quote, "They that break this tomb shall meet death by a disease that no doctor can diagnose," end quote.
Oh, that's really weird.
Exactly. So that leads me to suspect that ancient Egyptians were aware in some way, shape, or form of radiation poisoning.
And that something in the tombs would allow that to accumulate?
Well, they just put it there. I mean, it has a, like...
But they would put it in at that high level?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh my gosh.
It's just like it's just like reporting on the facts that these have really high levels of radiation. There was an inscription. You can surmise, I'm not even saying that they for sure knew.
Right.
But I can surmise that at least a certain core group of people knew enough about radiation exposure.
This is really weird.
Yeah, it's History for Weirdos, baby. I thought that was so strange, and I didn't, until my research, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
And even now, as I'm saying it to you, it even seems so far-fetched.
Right.
But this was, I mean, this was reported in the Journal of Scientific Exploration. So, I mean, it's, you know, it's a pretty reliable source.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So, you know, probably not a curse, but
Or
radiation poisoning could be the reason for these unexplained deaths.
But not the murders.
Not the murders. No, that's something else.
Being shot by your wife, being assassinated, being smothered in your sleep, that's not radiation.
Or even just committing suicide.
Yeah, death by suicide. Mm-hmm.
The discovery of King Tut's tomb not only transformed like the scholarly field of Egyptology, but also reverberated through global tourism and pop culture.
Definitely.
So there were blockbuster exhibitions setting off Tutmania and inspiring myriads of films, books, and even design trends during this time.
Tutmania.
Tutmania. I love that.
That's so cute.
So by 1924, just 2 years after Carter's find, Egypt's first university program in Egyptology was founded, so marking the start of a generation of Egyptian archaeologists reclaiming their heritage.
Yes,
which I
we love it.
Exactly.
That's so cool because they, like, the whole world was so excited.
Yes.
You know, it must have really reignited this, like, oh yeah, this is our history.
Exactly.
Let's claim it.
And what's really interesting, too, is that, like, European Egyptologists had largely treated, like, the ancient studies as an afterthought, which I think is really strange. But King Tut's treasures prompted major scholars to publish new monographs on the New Kingdom and the Amarna period, so dramatically expanding the field's scope and methods.
Wow.
So this had, just in archaeology alone, this had really big impacts that are still being felt to this day.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's what I love about learning about history.
Yeah, exactly. You understand like the why of some of these things that we see today.
Mm-hmm.
And even if these things happened thousands of years ago, the repercussions, the consequences, both good and bad, are still felt.
The ripples keep going.
The ripples, baby. The ripples turn into tidal waves.
Wow.
Okay, that sounds really bad. So, within Egypt as well, outside of archaeology, Tutmania dovetailed with like Pharaohist nationalism. Plays, novels, and even the first Egyptian feature film in the country of Tutankhamun.
Oh.
Embraced the boy king as a powerful symbol, like independent of the past.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's really fascinating, or because of the past, but like in the modern era.
As a symbol of just Egypt?
Like nationalism, like Egypt nationalism.
Oh.
But I think in not like a creepy way, and more of like we're proud of our heritage.
National
kind of way.
pride kind of way.
National pride, exactly.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Also, tourism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big thing.
A blessing and a curse.
A blessing and a curse. Just a surge of activity in the Valley of the Kings started because of this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, thousands of visitors a day would be crowded around the tomb's entrance, like when Carter first opened the tomb.
Wow.
So many so that excavators feared that the retaining wall would collapse under the weight of all the onlookers.
Yeah.
So even by the late 1980s, Tutankhamun's burial chamber was drawing as many as 4,000 tourists daily. This is decades later, over half a century later.
Because the legend just keeps like growing.
Keeps building, yeah. Yeah, and this thankfully prompted conservation efforts and an extensive 9-year restoration project to mitigate damage from the dust and humidity.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, exactly. Because like when you go in, you're breathing, and that adds humidity, which will then...
Yeah, we have moisture, obviously, in our air.
Exactly. Yeah, and even modern today, like Egypt welcomed a record 14.9 million visitors in 2023. Wow. And a lot of this can be probably traced, a lot of this like mania can be traced back to King Tut's tomb. I mean, even we kind of got psyoped when we were kids about King Tut, right? And, this is a positive psyop, so I'm not complaining about it.
Yeah.
But that, like,
we've all heard of him.
Especially if you're a millennial, it really implanted in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I already mentioned this, but I really want to get into it. There was like Tutmania went crazy in cinema and song. I mean, like even Hollywood got in on it, right? There was movies about King Tut, and even just associations with King Tut were really popular during this time.
I just love the term Tutmania.
I know, me too.
It reminds me of like Beatlemania.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's like the Beatles, but King Tut.
And even kind of when that original fad went away, even in the 1960s, Egypt began loaning Tut's artifacts to Western museums.
Right.
And that not only brought tourism dollars to Egypt, but also a kind of a new wave of blockbuster films in the 60s and 70s.
So many were about Egypt.
Like even Cleopatra, right?
Yeah, huge.
Like that was partly... I mean, that's multifaceted, right? And wasn't the time period, obviously, but...
Much later, but people were just fascinated with Egyptian history.
Yeah, you couple that with ancient Roman history,
it's the best.
It's the best. And also, the discoveries of lavish gold, inlaid furniture, and iconography sparked like an Egyptian revival in architecture. Also in interior design, fashion, and jewelry, which was integral to the rise of the Art Deco movement in the 1930s.
Wow, two things that I love. I love Art Deco.
Yes, I wanted to mention that specifically because I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
I was like, that's so cool.
But I love Art Deco jewelry and architecture.
Exactly.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Very intricate, ornate.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it so cool?
Yeah.
I love that style so much.
Me too.
Ancient Egyptian architecture, the like classical architecture, Art Deco. I mean, that's why I think I love Art Deco. It takes, at the time, the modern with the ancient and combines them.
Yes.
Because it's like their whole idea was combining like the industrial process, but not losing the beauty.
Yes.
Which
we've lost, you guys.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Spoiler
we lost
alert.
it.
I know. So, I mean, his enduring story makes him one of the most like famous pharaohs of all time.
Absolutely.
And it's not because of, who he was during life, but, what he represented, I guess, in his death.
In his death, you're right. I think if you were to ask someone who's like not very interested in history or ancient history, could you name an Egyptian pharaoh? I think they would say King Tut.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and even today, right, there's so many exhibitions, ancient Egyptian exhibitions across the world, right?
I feel like he was recently here in Los Angeles, wasn't he? Or parts of his tomb were?
Something like that, yeah. I know, and we didn't see it. But he's influenced, like, pop culture. He's influenced just, like, the way we even think about things.
Absolutely.
So it's really cool. So the discovery of King Tut's tomb, as you can imagine, huge deal. Huge deal. Shortly after his death, subsequent Egyptian pharaohs tried to erase his memory, right? Probably because of his dad.
Always.
Yeah. Oh, that happens. Damnation memoriae.
It's so annoying.
So it's really funny and ironic that, again, what we were just talking about, when you think of the most famous Egyptian pharaohs of all time, you're going to think of Tut. Even though, again, he didn't do anything really spectacular during his lifetime.
And it was so young, such a short life.
Exactly. So a lot of like contemporary Egyptians kind of forgot about him within the next few decades.
Right.
It's even though he was quite unremarkable in his life, he was quite remarkable in the afterlife. I shouldn't say he was unremarkable. He was like just kind of like average, I guess.
He's at his beginning.
He's just at his beginning. And it's not even a mark against him. He was young.
Yeah.
So this was the tale of the discovery of Pharaoh Tutankhamun's tomb, though he is better known to history as King Tut.
Wow, yay!
Yes.
That was so fun. That was just as fun as I thought it would be.
I'm so glad. And Weirdos, I hope you loved it too.
Yes. We had, for the weirdo who is keeping a list of my ideal cat names, add Tutankhamun to the list.
There we go.
And then when we call our kitty Tut, oh, that's just King Tut.
It's just King Tut.
That'd be so cute.
And when we're mad at him, Tutankhamun.
Tutankhamun.
No, but they're cats. They don't care.
Yeah. I mean, Perry doesn't care.
I know. I'll say Pericles.
And he's just like, like he gets mad if you're mad at him.
Yeah, I'm like, are you that spoiled?
He is.
Yeah,
he is. So our imaginary cats would also be very spoiled.
Yeah.
That was an amazing episode. Thank you so much for doing this. I would have not done as good of a job on this episode. So I'm really glad that you did it.
I love doing ancient episodes, funny enough, because, well, not funny enough, because I get really into the research and I go deep, right? God, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different sources that I use for this episode.
Which we will include in our show notes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the cameras here.
Thank you so much, my love.
You got it.
Weirdos, let us know in the comments, either on Spotify, if you're listening on Spotify.
Or watching.
On Spotify. Hey. Or at our Instagram. What do you think of the curse? What do you think happened that there was radiation in these tombs?
Yeah.
Someone might have a science background and be able to explain it to us.
Right.
But even if you don't know, we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your theories on this curse/radiation poisoning.
Yeah, I'm so shocked. I don't know what to say. I have zero thoughts about it. Or not zero thoughts. I have many thoughts about it. I have zero inclination of how? Why, anything.
Yes, agreed. So please let us know, comment, and if you liked this episode, because it was amazing, share it with someone else who you think will like it. Maybe it was a friend from elementary school that you used to read that Egyptology book with. Just send this their way.
Oh my God, that's a perfect suggestion.
Right? And don't forget to, leave a review, subscribe, all the good things that help the weirdo community continue to grow.
Exactly, because we love connecting with you guys so much. And we're so excited, again, to share all of the video footage that we'll be taking in Italy.
Yeah, so follow along so you could see our Italy trip on Instagram.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next time, weirdos.
Until next time, adios.